our YouTube videos is always terrible because life is terrible and it stops when you die.
You guys seem like real true professionals. I love this.
We try. There was an attempt. And it's not.
It's the podcast is us saying "oh shit" over
and saying like a lot is what we're told. That's been our top comment on YouTube so far. But we don't really do much. Yeah, we don't really do much on YouTube.
We don't. We
lately.
don't really interact much on YouTube with people.
But there we go. So now we got audio output, audio input. And then we use a program called OBS Broadcaster to go to Facebook from the Google Hangout, and it was not capturing audio.
You guys are just firing on all cylinders, huh?
Yeah. Well, we haven't. It's been a minute since we've done a live video since before we went to Nexus. Really. Yeah. And I don't know that it's capturing audio or not, or transmitting. I see it. I believe that it believes that it's sending it.
We're only like 15 minutes late at this point.
I know. Well, technically an hour and 15 minutes late on our end because
that's on me. I forgot.
No, that's not on you.
Time zones were a thing.
Well, and what's funny is we usually make sure it's always like, all right, we're gonna do this at whatever Eastern time, and this was the one time that nope, did not even mention it.
Which is dumb of me because I know you guys are in Indy, and I know Indy's I lived in Indiana. I know that it's an Eastern time zone.
We're going to St. Louis, so we're going to be in a different time zone.
Oh, they are.
Hour,
shit!
Yeah.
I didn't think about that.
Mm-hmm. I know. We're just covering all sorts of ground.
Where
are we? What time is it? I don't know.
The big Midwest tour, huh?
This is my Midwest tour. Yeah.
I don't know that this is capturing audio output to.
I don't know that we should be doing this anymore. We're obviously
we are
at life right now. So
it's
we should not have stayed up watching the entire season 2 of Rick and
Morty. No, it's not that. It's I don't know
technology
how this is, and I apologize to you.
I mean, I don't do anything with my day.
For
I'm also doing the cool thing where I'm wearing sweatpants with a nice shirt. So.
Oh, see, I'm wearing the sweatshirt I slept in and sweatpants. So.
I put on makeup for this. I'm not used to people being able to see my face.
Oh my God.
It makes me feel very vulnerable.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, this is.
You didn't need to go through that.
I usually put a little bit more care into this, but
that's
today,
nice and awkward.
This is what the internet has to deal with. So
I am.
Oh well.
I am 50-50 on if audio is going to work on Facebook, and if it doesn't, I can. I don't know. It's showing me that it's going, but I don't hear it, and normally I hear it on the Facebook preview, and it makes things extremely difficult for me to focus up whenever it's running. But oh well, I just hit the live button on Facebook, so
okay. So are we?
For better or worse,
we're gonna do this.
We should be.
Okay. So I'll just intro and we'll do it. Okay. Today we are thrilled to be joined by Jessica Bluemke Greiff. Jessica is a contributor to Friendly Atheist and co-host of the Friendly Atheist podcast, and she also performs stand-up comedy in her free time. We've heard that she has some sweary opinions about the White House, and we'll get to that in a minute.
Or at Mar-a-Lago. Let's be.
Okay.
Don't mislead people.
Right, I know. He is on a golf course somewhere, or he's just on the toilet tweeting. But whatever.
Oh God, that's.
Sorry.
I don't want
disgusting.
that mental image. Thank you.
But you know he does it. Jessica, before we derail this, we already have derailed this. Can you tell our audience a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, there's not a ton to tell. I live in the suburbs of Chicago. I've been doing the Friendly Atheist podcast for 3 years now. I've been a contributor to friendlyatheist.com for 5. Yeah, and I'm just your average run-of-the-mill millennial literature major college graduate, I guess.
You also do some badass cross-stitchery.
I do.
We
just
right before
saw
this. Yeah, so you're a real Renaissance woman,
Oh,
obviously.
thank you for saying so, because I think it's tacky to say it about yourself. So
what is that?
I
What is
figured
that?
I'd put it out there. She
What
does
does that mean?
everything.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, like she does a podcast. She's a stand-up comedian. She does really cool cross stitch. She's smart. She's all these things. So
Nobody said she wasn't those.
yeah, but I'm just putting it out there. So why don't we talk about some stuff that's happened in the past few days out in the world?
has anything happened? I've just been living in a bunker.
I mean, I want to live in a bunker, but instead I've refreshed Twitter and Facebook too many times.
Oh my God.
That's on you.
The Republicans didn't take away healthcare last night. Right?
Yeah, I don't know. What do we think about John McCain being painted as like the hero of the hour here?
Mixed feelings? Maybe?
I think mixed feelings is appropriate.
Confusing.
Yeah, because it's all on him, right? They're kind of putting it that he saved it, but there were two other people that voted. Yep,
and there's two other Republicans who voted against it. So it's not like he was even the only Republican who dissented. And I get it, like he's going through shit. And the thing is, like, if the narrative had been he had this surgery, got this horrible diagnosis, hopped on a private jet to make this vote so he could like strip Americans of healthcare, like I think that's a super different story we'd be talking about right now.
Yeah.
But like, I credit where credit's due. He did the right thing, I guess. But let's not, I think sometimes being the bare minimum of like not a monster is, I guess, enough to get a good pat on the back. I mean, he did the right thing, right? Like, give him that. But he doesn't make him a hero of human rights.
That reminds me of something, and this is a callback to one of, I don't remember, maybe a month ago on your podcast, where you had said something to the effect of, we shouldn't be, I think the topic you were discussing was about Christians doing, or any sort of religious group, doing charity or doing good things, but for because they think they're going to get some sort of reward out of it in the end. And I think I took a little bit of issue with that. I know Hammett didn't push back because that's not the kind of show that is, and that's not really even the show that we are here. But but yeah, here we are. But I kind of disagreed with that because I think you're setting the foundation up thing like that to, I don't know. Do you know like where I'm going with this? Are you going, well, like, I'm not saying, and of course I'm not saying you're wrong or like trying to.
But so I think I understand what you're saying. Are you saying that because somebody's doing charity because they think that they'll ultimately be rewarded for it, that lessens their contributions?
I don't know that it doesn't necessarily lessen it. It doesn't stop me from being concerned about the reasons, if that makes sense, because they still think they're doing good, but their rationale behind it, the reason that they're doing the good is because they think some person in the sky is watching them and is going to bless them in the first place. And I don't know. I don't know if that's and I want to be told that I'm wrong here because
so Jessica, frequently just tell him he's wrong.
If I'm being honest, I'm not sure where you're sticking. So you want their reasoning to be good enough that they did it, or you think it's garbage that they are doing good things only because they expect this reward in the afterlife?
I think it feels more self-serving and selfish to have that, and that's the whole reason we got into it, was with John McCain doing, I guess here, the right thing for the wrong reasons.
Do you think he did the right thing for the wrong reasons?
I don't know what his reasons
are there good reasons, like, or is it just politics?
I think it's a little column A, a little column B, and I think he's I don't know.
No, but I mean, I think there's a point there of did he vote against it because he wanted to protect people who are currently insured under Obamacare, or did he vote against it because it didn't go far enough in the other direction? I think
right, like Rand Paul.
Yeah.
Right. And I don't know. And yeah, indeed, that would definitely be the right thing for the wrong reasons, because that's going to keep us on this merry-go-round of every week it's a new vote, and every week we have to listen to people pretend that being sick is a choice, and it's fucking sucks, frankly. But if this is dead in the water after this McCain thing, then like credit where credit's due. I don't care if you did it because you're secretly a monster. Like, you killed it and now it's dead. Like, the enemy of the enemy is my friend. Like, I'm not looking for fights to pick with John McCain. He's a war hero. He's a good guy. Like, I disagree with some of his politics, but like, if he killed this thing, that is excellent news, and I won't dig in further. But yeah, I mean, there's definitely an argument of doing, I don't know, like, so I volunteer once a week, and it's at this riding center with kids with special needs. It's therapeutic horseback riding. So I'm there every week, and I've been doing it for years. But like every summer, some kids come in from like the local high school because they have to get a certain amount of hour, like charity hours or whatever, volunteer hours. And like, yeah, they're not doing it because it comes from the bottom of their heart and they want to help these kids, but like, they're still helping, they're still doing a good thing, and hopefully are affected by it. So I don't know, it's so easy to bag on Christians for doing everything for the ultimate reward, because that's really what it is, right? Like, if you look at it on face, what they say is you have to be nice to your fellow man, you have to do this, you have to do that, because otherwise you won't go to heaven. And like, I don't know, like, I try to be a nice person because I'm not an asshole usually. Like, but,
right, just because you want to be a good human to other humans.
Well, and I want to live on a planet full of people who aren't assholes. Like, it doesn't seem like a huge stretch to me.
Well, yeah, that's the goal, isn't it? To be surrounded by people who aren't assholes.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
that's the ultimate goal.
But that's the ultimate goal, but it seems.
But have you been on the internet?
Yeah, I know.
I have. I sure have. They're full of assholes. That's all right.
And that's kind of the thing. One of the recurring themes, it feels like, with anything that's happening. Just talking about John McCain, seeing, whether it's memes or just status updates or whatever, people saying stuff about being happy that he has cancer and
or calling it karma.
Ooh.
Yeah, I mean, it, like, that for me, I can't get behind that.
No. Well, that's being an asshole. Like, that's
being an asshole.
The definition of being an asshole. Like, because I disagree with somebody or think they did bad things, I generally don't wish bad things upon them. And I mean, and I grant you, I hold John McCain accountable for Sarah Palin, which the introduction of her onto the public stage, I think can be directly linked to this clusterfuck that's happening right now. So
yeah,
he's not guiltless in my head, but like, I don't wish brain cancer on people. That's not like my main jam.
Good. I think we're all the same
Good.
page.
Yeah.
This is
good job, everybody.
It's not our jam to wish brain cancer on people. So that we'll put ourselves in that column. But that's the kind of thing that, various issues are being talked about. It gets to this point of personal attack sometimes, and that's where I think it.
Well, and I think, I mean, you just kind of said one of the underlying issues there is it is a personal attack, and not looking at the idea or the ideology that's supporting it. And that's kind of, I know that's what you guys do on your show and website, and that's what we do here too, is always emphasize going after the idea and not the person, because people are not ideas.
Mm-hmm.
Well, and then, just thinking about something else that happened in the past few days. I'm going to Donald Trump's Twitter now because
oh god,
Yeah. So just talking about people, talking about, you know, an entire group of people, like trans men and women in the military, that, you know, our president essentially tweeted that, you know, just no to them serving. And I feel like that's, I mean, isn't that an attack on people?
I think that's goes beyond.
Like that's, I don't even
anything.
know. I don't even know how to frame it, because
to their credit, from, of course, I'm not in the Pentagon yet, but I mean, hashtag goals, but from everything, all the news reports I've heard and everything like that, they were completely surprised by it. But also they're not taking orders from the president via Twitter, they said, or at least they strongly implied. So that's partial faith in humanity restored in that aspect. But it's that
it's a discussion that was put out there by Twitter, or on Twitter by the president, towards an entire group of people. It just, that there was something about all that felt really disgusting. And
well, so I think this is sort of the end, not even the end result, but one of the results of what we're seeing in the White House, of when you have a man like Donald Trump, who has been like silver spoon shoved up his ass since he was a baby, right? Like, and therefore has always been powerful and always been surrounded by yes men, right? So he has never been told no in his entire life. Yeah. And so
when if you tell him no, he fires you.
Exactly. You're exactly right. So what the result is, a man who is in a position of terrific power, who doesn't understand what his job is or how he fits into the government, or frankly, I would argue how the government works at all. Like that's the underlying thing. So this is the result of it, that he thinks he's a dictator. He thinks that what he says goes, and nobody is there. And when I say nobody, like everybody in that White House is accountable. I don't care if like he's going to fire them or not. Like he has, granted, he has a minimal staff right now because nobody wants to work for him, which is fair. But there are people, like you said, people in the Pentagon, people who are not associated with his campaign or with his particular White House. And somebody needs to go in there and go like, listen, dude, like, here's a civics 101. Like, let's watch Schoolhouse Rock, and this is how a bill becomes a law. And nobody will do that. And whether or not that's a fear of him or a fear of the office or a reverence to the office, and I think all of those are garbage reasons. Like, I get the idea that you had to be reverent to the president, and there's something about, you know, the office and Mr. President, all that stuff. But goddamn, like when you see this man tweeting at 3 a.m. and clearly watching Fox News and then denying it and lying and like telling Boy Scouts that like his buddy got laid on a yacht, like somebody needs to grab him by the scruff of the neck and be like, dude, hey, chill for a sec.
I know you want to rewind on Boy Scout stuff.
What's this about?
Have you not heard that one?
I missed that one this week.
So he was speaking to. Yeah. It's been a busy week. He was speaking at the Boy Scout Jamboree, I think. Was it the Jamboree?
Yeah. I think it was Jamboree, just all the Boy Scouts, yeah.
Yeah, and so the president is always invited to speak. Is it every 4 years? So last time when Obama was president, he didn't physically appear, but he did like a video message. And then Trump obviously physically appeared because oh boy has nothing going on in his day because he can't read. Have you heard the conspiracy theory that he can't read? Because it's my favorite thing in the entire world.
Like that's got to be a fantastic conspiracy theory. What can you give us the Cliff's Notes version of that conspiracy theory?
Yeah, and to be clear, it's not something the Cliff's Notes. Yeah, got it. So anyway, he's like talking off the cuff as he's wont to do. And he starts talking about his friend who sold his something business for a tremendous amount of money and bought a yacht, and like basically started going, oh, and he did some crazy things on that yacht. I won't tell you because you're Boy Scouts. But wink. Yeah, it was.
That's the president.
Yeah,
He's the president.
Sure is. Sure is.
It's so gross.
What?
I have moments of
it's just exhausting
that this is like I have a 2-year-old and a 4-year-old, two little boys. Like, this is the president of their childhood. It's just, sometimes I have no words.
To be fair though, HW was president in our childhoods. I don't remember much of him, but
I guess.
we're also HW also didn't try to destroy the world.
Yeah,
so
I mean, Clinton became president when I was like 7, I think. So I feel like he was more the formulative president in my childhood. But I don't know. It's
got Trump, and he's talking to Boy Scouts about dudes getting laid on yachts.
It's fucking. You're right. It's exhausting, and it's impossible to continue to stay the appropriate amount of angry or vigilant about what's going on. Right. Because at some point you're just going to go insane. You're just going to lose your mind over it.
And that's the other thing too, is because everything is people. I'm lumping us into one big group now, but I think people like us don't want to hyperbolize things, don't want to come off as we say end of the world like very jokingly, but also we don't know it's not.
That the sky is falling when it's not.
Right. And so that makes it hard for people like us, I think, to even talk about it, because for one, everybody talks about it, and if you give a single shit about women's rights or trans rights or just human rights about people, if you care about people in the slightest manner, you can't not talk about it. But it's so exhausting because everybody talks about it. And I mean, how do we, because I'm not good at this, because I hyper focus on one thing, and like we were talking before we started recording, I'm hyper focused on listening to Serious Inquiries Only with Thomas Smith right now, and just listening to every episode. But how do you, Natalie or Jessica, how do you guys take a break? Because I don't know how to take a break from really anything at all ever, and I'm terrible at that. So like, what do you do? This is me trying to change the topic from Trump. What do you do to get away from it all?
Are you saying to sort of care for yourself within the dumpster fire of all of this?
Yeah, self-care.
Jessica, what about you?
I mean, I have gotten to the point that I don't really watch the news much anymore. I don't I skim through Facebook, like kind of through like my hands like this, like I just skim through there. With absolute honesty, this last month and a half or so I recently lost my job. I'm going through some stuff, so I have just like kind of put myself in a cocoon a little bit. So like right now I'm rewatching Game of Thrones, and I'm listening to like Sawbones from the beginning. I just bring my dog to the dog park and like pretend none of this is happening. And that, for me, that's what I need right now. And it also kind of helps because my podcast is sort of a news recap. So I can come in, Hemant does all the research, and I can come in kind of fresh and like have genuine reactions to what's going on instead of like this sort of ruminating like grossness that I have all week. And like, it's kind of cowardly of me, I grant you, but it's just one of those like, I just can't right now. I just can't.
I don't think that's cowardly at all. I think that's knowing what you can handle as a person and doing what you need to do to maintain your own sanity. I don't think that's cowardly or isolating yourself or any argument for like echo chamber or anything like that. I don't think that's that's a bad thing. I think that's.
And I think
just what you got to do.
So to me personally, the most exhausting part of all of this is like, Trump is going to Trump. Like, he's going to do his garbage, and we all know it. And things are going on with like the Catholic Church or whatever. Like, that is all going to happen. Like, white male senators saying shitty things about women or whatever. That's all going to happen. So for me, the hardest thing about the last 6 months is just this utter lack of accountability on anybody. Of these people saying like truly monstrous things with no blowback and no negative consequences. And like, meanwhile, I'm a millennial, and I feel like all baby boomers think that like millennials have fucked everything up and that we deserve what we got because we chose to like go to a liberal arts college and like consequences. But then like these rich white dudes are like, hey, I just see women as like a walking pair of tits, and everyone's like, oh boys will be boys. Like I can't with that. If there's going to be no consequences, then what's the point of me getting mad about it? Is how I feel frequently. And I know that's like not a great stance, but I can't just like get mad and then watch somebody else walk away from the fire while I stare and point and jump and say like, wait, nobody cares? Nobody cares that this man is assaulting women or whatever? Like, we're all cool with it? Okay. All right, I guess I'll just be here angry by myself in my room.
And I saw a couple months ago two juxtaposed articles, one saying how, because of course we're millennials too, how we're responsible for shitty restaurants like Applebee's. Sales declining, but then also we spend more money as millennials. We're not saving money because we spend so much money going out, going to restaurants and eating out and things like that.
Avocado toast or something.
Avocado toast. Yeah.
I've never had avocado toast. I like avocado. I've
had avocado on sandwiches before, I guess.
Avocado on sandwiches is.
Yeah, I was with my friend one day, and he ordered avocado toast because he had never had it. He just looked at me and he's like, "Yeah, this is $12 guacamole on bread." So, isn't it funny that like millennials get bagged on because like we don't have savings, we don't have whatever, and on like that same breath they're like, oh my god, chain restaurants are going out of business, how come millennials aren't going out to eat? I'm like, well, it's because we all make $32,000 a year and have like $1 zillion of student loan debts, and housing prices are going out of control, and everything that's happening. And it's to me this very real lack of empathy, and I talk about a lot in my podcast that like a lot of people, and by a lot of people I mean rich white guys who are my main target of my ire.
You keep saying this phrase, rich white guys.
Rich white guys.
Running the country or something.
Yeah.
You'd think.
I was just at my folks' place. They live in Wisconsin near Lake Geneva, and they live on a golf course, and it's just like rich white guys for days. And even my dad, who is a rich white guy, was like, I can't tell them apart anymore. Like, I see somebody from a distance, I'm like, do I know that guy? I don't know. It's a kind of overweight white guy in a hat. I don't know. Anyway, I don't remember what I was talking about. Oh, so, like, our parents, presumably, not necessarily our personal parents, but as a generation, graduated college with little to no debt, had excellent jobs waiting for them on the other side, had company loyalty, companies that would nurture them and pay them fair wages and give them pensions. Holy shit! Who ever heard of a pension anymore? Like,
take care of them.
Yeah. I have a friend who left my day job. She left our day job today, and she said she can't come back. She's worked there for I think a couple decades, and she can't go back to that job because now the job that I have requires a college degree, and she doesn't have a college degree. And my parents, I know both my parents are now retired, like within the last year or two, but they didn't have a college degree, and my mom at least worked for the same company for like 35, 40 years. My dad kind of bounced around a little, but he worked at least a good solid 20 years at one company, and that's. I mean, I've been at my current job for 5 years now, and that feels like forever, and I'm desperately looking to do something else. So, I mean, if you know somebody that's hiring, but yeah, exactly. It's
really different than what they were used to. And then putting those expectations on, like, can't you just go get the job that pays all the money and,
oh yeah, or oh my god, millennials aren't buying houses. Like, no, of course they're not buying houses. Like, what are you even talking about? And like, I'm a homeowner, and I'm extraordinarily lucky to be so. Like, because it was something that was important to my husband and I. But also, like, one of our toilets is fucked up, and it's just going to be fucked up for a little while because we can't afford to get a plumber in here to fix it. Like, there's gives and there's goods and bads about being a homeowner, and I also think people were scared out. Like, I have my sister-in-law bought a house in like 2006 or something like that. And it was still the time where like, okay, I have a steady job. I'm in my mid to late 20s. I guess I'll buy a house. And then the downturn happened and the house was worthless. It was in a suburb that was going to like be the next big Naperville, Illinois, or whatever, like the next big place. And then 2008 happened and everything just stopped. So she was stuck with this like worthless garbage apartment, you know, condo that fucked her for till now. Like she's still dealing with the repercussions of that. And like we see that and we're not idiots. Like, yes, paying rent sucks in a lot of ways because you're never going to see that money again. But also, if something happens, I could be underwater in this house so easily. So easily.
Yeah, I just bought a house. As you're saying how houses are expensive, I bought a house in the fall. I could not have done it without my parents significantly helping me. So I am privileged. I got everything going for me: white, straight, male, parents, very supportive parents. So I have to own any mistake I make, and this is partially like legitimately source of my anxiety is any mistake, anything that goes wrong in my life is solely on me because I have everything going for me. But yeah, that's terrifying to me, and I hate the idea of anything breaking. Like even when I first moved in, we had to replace a bunch of pipes because something was leaking, and that's just homeownership is a scam. Can we go into this?
This is his thing. Is that homeownership?
Homeownership is a scam, and I'm tired of those damn neighbor kids coming into my yard, walking through my yard.
You've become the guy that's like,
oh my god, I didn't know you're a curmudgeon. Congratulations.
Oh my gosh,
he's a curmudgeon. He is the guy. Those damn kids with their rock and roll.
Can I tell the story about my bushes?
Tell the story about your bushes.
Oh my god.
So
this is really.
So I don't know what they are. One of them is some sort of berry bush. Some of them, one is it's just a weed. Somebody goes, well, this looks like it's supposed to be there, but it's absolutely a weed of some kind. It's not very good looking, but it's there, and I'm too lazy to pull it out because it's about 20 feet tall. Both of these things, and so I cut down all these branches.
Is it a tree? Are you confusing it with a tree? It sounds like a tree.
It's a bush.
I have no idea about botany or any sort
It's a bush.
Okay.
It's a bush. I will post pictures of this. It's a bush of some kind because it's got multiple shoots coming out of the ground all in the same place. It's not, but at any rate, I'm trimming all this down because mowing the grass is awful and mowing around it's awful. So I said, I'm just going to cut this all down. I have a 5 to 6 foot tall pile that's maybe 4 feet deep. I put it in my backyard in this area, like this break in the tree line, whatever, where kids always walk through. The very next day, it's almost entirely gone. Not just moved, like just gone. Like somebody backed up a truck, loaded it up, and took it all away.
Is that good or bad?
That's bad because I don't know who's doing this and what happened. What happened to all that was a lot of branches and stuff.
It was just the branch ninja came in at night and just in the suburbs of Indianapolis just strolling around looking for branches.
The other lesson here is I should write books because that was a great story.
That was a terrible story.
No, I was riveted for one.
This story is.
I could also tell the story of the kid who walked through my backyard with carrying a rifle and three more rifles in his backpack.
Hashtag America.
And
no!
As he's walking through, I'm standing in the living room saying, "Hey kids, get away! I'm doing a live video on Facebook now in case he decides that he wants to come into my house." And
I forgot about that. I did forget about the guns.
It was
that happened.
Uncomfortable.
You forgot about the guns? That's kind of the exclamation point of the story.
Well,
we are in Indiana.
Let's be honest. I forgot about the story full stop. And then I forgot about the guns. But I am in Indiana. And so I'm from, Jessica, I live right outside of DC. And Indiana's a little different, it seems like. Because I was driving yesterday, and I drove by a dentist office, and it had a sign outside.
Oh, I know. That's on 135. Yeah.
Office was saying God stuff.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely.
Where the fuck am I? But then let's connect it to the fact that supposedly, I mean, we live in a Christian nation, right? We worship God. That's what I call a segue there, because we're going to talk about Trump's tweet.
That was an excellent segue.
This is why
I did such a great setup to get us out of it and tell my terrible story.
Yeah, so this is why we're professionals. And
no, I can tell.
So Donald Trump, though, we don't worship government. No, we don't. But
this is a tweet from him 2 days ago.
And it's all in caps. I have it pulled up here. It's all in caps, which I cannot tell you. I have a horrible habit of focusing on the wrong thing. So for me, like, the thing that's really fucking annoying is that it's in all caps. So it says, in America, we don't worship government, we worship God, ! And then there's like a the camera emoji.
I appreciate his emoji use, though. I love emojis. Ironically, we don't want to talk about emojis or how the council of emojis made new emojis. Okay.
So here's the thing: is like on its face, none of that makes sense. Like nobody is positing that we worship government. So like on its face, it makes no fucking sense. Yeah. Which again annoys me. And so for me, like this kind of rhetoric from political figures, as an atheist, it should make me more angry than it does that he's like, we worship God. We're like, no, we don't all worship God, asshole. Like, A, no. B, you shouldn't say shit like that. C, do you mean like all gods? Do you mean Allah? Or are we just focused on the bearded one? So yeah, it's all fucking garbage, but like
the white bearded one,
the white bearded one. Sorry, excuse me. God forbid we worship any brown people. Oh, the horror.
It's just the white bearded guy. Yeah, so that's what he's talking about.
And I don't know, like to what? Like this is grandstanding at its finest. Like this is empty rhetoric that means absolutely nothing. It's a meaningless statement that feels impactful because it's in all caps, I guess.
Yes, somebody told him just hit the caps lock and
everyone takes you seriously.
That's it. Yeah.
Well, I heard, and I don't know the validity of this, that he doesn't see. This is getting speculative, and I shouldn't be doing that. But I've heard that he doesn't necessarily. He will dictate his tweets. To other people and actually have them write it. So I can see somebody else sitting down because I can't see Trump using Instagram, and this is an Instagram video that he linked to. But I can't see Trump going through like, or maybe again with his tiny little hands scrolling through pages and pages of emojis.
So that doesn't really jive with what I know about him. I don't know.
Yeah, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say more of the same. Like, it's just grandstanding, and it's just, like, giving people what they want to hear, even though it's fucking meaningless. Like, that. I mean, I think that's a big issue that I have with, like, this sort of Christian rhetoric that tends to surround government and our leaders, is it's all empty sort of garbage. Like, it doesn't mean anything, but it sounds nice, and it sounds good on its face. So they're fine with that, or they like the way the person sounds. Like, I don't know if you've ever been to like church or something like that, but like it's easy to get swept up in that kind of thing when you hear the rhetoric, when you hear. But like,
we both grew up Catholic. So oof. I was even an altar boy for.
Oh, good for you!
I was an altar girl.
See, I thought
we did the thing.
My dog is trying to get in the room. My family was Catholic growing up. And I do find Catholicism, like Catholic Church, to be some of the least compelling stuff I've ever witnessed. But like, you know, you'd see sermons and whatever. It's meaningful, but and I've kind of talked about this before. When you grow up being spoken, like going to church every Sunday, right? So what you have is generally a man, not always, who stands in front of you once a week for an hour and says really nice sounding things and speaks well and is compelling and interesting to listen to, but ultimately sort of ties it back to like, so that's why you have to have faith or something like that. Like nothing concrete, like nothing's in the center of it. Like it's like a Tootsie Pop with nothing in the middle. It's just sort of like air.
So disappointing. Yeah.
Well, Tootsie Pops in general are disappointing, though.
Okay, we can talk about that later, because first of all, how dare you?
Another podcast, I know.
But I lost my train of thought. So there's no like, there's nothing to grab onto in the middle, but you feel good when you leave and you sort of are uplifted. And so I think that sort of trains you as a person to allow yourself to be swept up by emotion, and this person's a compelling talker and they're hitting buzzwords that I really like, as opposed to like, say, a Hillary Clinton, who personally I find her to be a compelling speaker. I really liked Hillary a lot. But like in the debates, they would ask her a question. She said, okay, you asked me, how am I going to fix Obamacare? And she would literally say, 1, this, 2, this, 3, this. And for me, I'm like, cool, you laid out concrete plans and you said the things that you're planning on doing. And then Trump says words that are probably English.
Probably a sentence, maybe.
Probably. I think sentence is very generous of you.
Yeah, that's maybe a nice.
Have you ever read
together?
Have you ever read a transcript of like when he's just speaking
it's bad.
off the cuff? He doesn't say complete sentences.
No.
But like, if you're not tuned into like trying to get to like the meat of something, and you're just willing to like get swept away with a feeling, then that sounds like real shit. And I don't know how I got on this particular tangent, but that's how I feel about that. Oh, it's because he sends out this tweet that says, we don't worship government, we worship God. It's a fucking meaningless statement. Nobody would say we worship government.
Yeah, it's not even wrong.
Yeah.
It's not even a straw man. It's
yeah, it's just some words that like he used worship twice. Like, cool, dude. But when people see this and they're like, ugh, finally, like somebody saying something, like, no, he's saying garbage and you're being swept up in it. It just makes me so fucking mad. You guys say a thing now. I need to go to my quiet place.
But like, was this all the same day as when he was talking about the trans men and women in the military?
Yeah, this thing flew under my radar. Yes, this thing flew under my radar because I didn't get a push alert about this particular thing, and that's where I got most of my news. But yeah, I'll have it in the same. Oh, wait, this was Wait, I have it in front of me. Why can't I see?
It's all the days are the same. It feels anymore. You wake
what
up
day was
and. That was 2 days
ago.
Yeah, 2 days ago. So, yeah, because I was here when all this was happening. Like, I was in Indiana already, so I feel like this was all Wednesday, maybe, that he just was on this tweet storm of ridiculousness. And yeah, because I feel like I was extra shocked that the God tweet happened because all of those other tweets had happened in the morning. And I don't know, it just, I have the moments of disbelief that this is the person that's, do I say in charge of things? I don't know. He's just...
if nothing else, he's the figurehead.
He's the figurehead, yes. So this is what the world sees, too, when they look at us.
Honestly, that is sort of my big takeaway for all of this, is that America, we love to think of ourselves as these global leaders and charging forward. And I think that however transparently put on that was, which I think it's been a long time since anybody looked to America for actual good sense. I think those days are behind us. That we can even posture like we're some sort of leaders. And it's not. I mean, it is Trump. It's a lot of Trump. It's Trump all day. But
Trump for days.
Trump for days. But it's also things like healthcare or like women's issues that we're still grappling with, which is befuddling. It's befuddling. We're still not sure if every person has the right to go see a doctor if they're sick. Like, that's still like a moral quandary that our government is grappling with, and I'm baffled by it, and I assume the rest of the world is too, because when you have let's say Canada, because they're pretty close to us, when you have your Canadians who have had universal health care for a minute, and somehow still are like functioning as a country and people can afford to live. They're not being taxed out of existence. Okay, well, hey, they found a model that works. Can we just like look at their paper and see, like, cheat off them a little bit? Because they clearly have some things going down. But like, and so when you say things like that, and the fact that we don't have maternity leave, or the fact, like, any of this shit, how on what grounds, I guess, are we pretending that we're this world leader? Like, because we have a super big military? Like, in 10 years, we're not going to have troops on the ground anymore. It's just fucking weird. And to be honest, like, I don't give a shit if America is like a world. Like, I don't care. Like, what the fuck do I care? It doesn't mean anything. It's just like these blowhard guys who need to like say they're number one because they're like this toxic masculinity of, if I'm not number one, I'm nothing. Everybody has to lose for me to win. And that's honestly a problem. Sorry, I'm rambling. But that's a big problem with Trump, is that people said, oh, he's going to run the United States like a business. And that's what we need. We need a business guy. No, dude, like, businesses turn profits. A country isn't supposed to turn a profit. Like, it's supposed to be balanced, but it is supposed to be taking care of its people. Like, how did anybody... It's another one of those things that, like, it sounds good on its face, right? Like, we're going to run this place like a business. He's a businessman. He's going to business it. And when you look at what it means to run a, let's say, even like a nonprofit business versus a conglomerate that, like, slaps its name on buildings all over the world and makes me want to fucking kill myself every time I drive down Wacker, it's not the same. It doesn't line up. And also, the guy can't run a business. So, like, that's dead in its tracks.
There's that to start. It's like, let's run it like a business, but by a person who can't run a business,
right?
And who can't even, sort of speak coherent sentences.
Yeah.
But you would think, I mean, what I used to do for work, I was a principal, but I was also, because it was small, I was in charge of pretty much everything, including the 15 people that worked there on staff. And one of the most important things, if not the most important things, was making sure that all of the people that worked there, and then the families that we served, that they were happy and their needs were met.
Mm-hmm.
So that's on such a small scale. But if you're the person in charge, or the people in charge of anything, I mean, you have to be thinking about just the other people involved in all of it.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like right now
I think there's a large body of evidence to suggest that think about others, and that's maybe like I equate rich white guy to conservatism.
You got it.
Conservationism. Whoa, what?
Nope, not the same.
No, definitely not the same there.
But yeah, and so that kind of gets us into a topic I'm trying to get away from Trump again. Something
it's like a black hole. You just suck them. You just get sucked back into that topic.
I know, that's what.
See, science. I know science things. I said a science thing.
There you go. Yes, you did. I don't know why that hit me as so funny. I know I know what show I'm on.
Do you know how enthusiastic I was? Okay, go. Keep going.
We can cut that clip.
Okay, say other things.
But okay, get together, broadband. So a question Natalie wrote here, I guess in her own words, why do people lose their shit over talking about feminism? Because
Cal kind of put that on the post on Facebook, but that was kind of what I took away from it, is people get so heated talking about feminism, and it just, I mean, why the fuck?
God, I wish I knew. But what I do think it sort of comes down to is, to support feminist ideals, you have to first accept the fact that there is a power dynamic in this country and in the world, most of the world. There are matriarchies. Anyway,
either one.
I stroked out again. But that we live in a patriarchal society, right? Like the world is catered to men, and women are being kind of shoved in there because turns out we have brains and want to do shit too. Like, and I think that step for many men and many women is hard to accept, especially when you're raised. And it doesn't always come back to religion, but there are many religions that are very specific when they preach that the man's the head of the household and the woman is the whatever, or like
only men can be preachers.
Yes, yeah. I mean, little things like that, or like that. There's like Jesus and then the husband and then the wife, or something. I haven't gone to church a lot.
Yeah. There's some weird relationship stuff with Jesus and the man and the woman. Like, we had this is a callback to a few weeks ago because we always have a segment of why we love the internet, which is kind of a shitposty type segment where it's just the stupid thing we saw, or the stupid subreddit, or the stupid Facebook page. We say stupid in a loving manner. Yes. But one of them a few weeks ago was this couple's legitimate engagement photos where they had somebody dressed up as Jesus with them standing in between them every time. It was all Jesus was in their business, and
just the best.
It was the best thing. But yes, that's part of the belief system of some people, that it is not, there's a woman, but she marries a man, but then there's also this other sky dude that's just over everything too.
Hanging out.
Just hanging out, just seeing
just
how
sneaking a peek.
Are going. Yeah, just in between everything. But yeah, there's this belief structure that lends itself to, the hierarchy of men and women.
And there's also this element, and I see it a lot from this I hear a lot from women mostly, is that like men and women have different places, and just because men are CEOs and X and Y and Z, and women also have like the immense privilege of birthing children or whatever. And if you happen to be a woman who sincerely loves being a mom and being a homemaker and cooking and all of that, and I grant you, there are many people who find that immensely satisfying. Like right now, I'm out of work and like I cook elaborate dinners for my husband every night, and I'm right now really enjoying it. Like I get the appeal of like, you have your little domain and you take care of your kids and whatever. And if you find that sincerely enjoyable, it's hard to, I guess, relate to somebody who's like, no, fuck that. I want to do a job. I want to be out of the office. I want to be intellectually challenged by work as opposed to being at home. And I think women find that threatening, because I think women hear that. And I grant you, there's women on the feminist side who don't do a great job of saying, hey, if this is what makes you happy, feminism is all about the choice that you get to make, not the choice that's foisted upon you. So I see how there's that sort of disconnect there, but it's really threatening to be like, what? I'm sorry, is this life that makes me so happy, is that not good enough for you? Like, why do I have to want more or different than this? And so I get that. And so I think those are sort of the speed bumps, but like to acknowledge one's privilege is really hard. It is really hard. And I try to give people the benefit of the doubt as much as I can in that regard, because it's extraordinarily difficult to, like you were saying, Dan, like, you have all these things going for you, and that doesn't mean you don't have, and I think this is the other thing I try to make very clear. Just because you're a white upper middle class, fairly wealthy, straight dude with a lot of shit, that doesn't mean you don't have problems. Mm-hmm. That does not mean you don't have problems. You have, everybody has a toilet that's fucked up that they're dealing with in their life, or they're in a fight with somebody. It's a metaphorical fucked up toilet. Like, roll with me on this one. And I think people think that when you say you have privilege and you turn around and say, well, my marriage is falling apart, or my kid hates me, or my toilet's broken, or whatever, like, how fucking dare you say I have privilege? Look at all these problems I have. But what has to be clear is we have, like, women, people of color, LGBT people, we all have those problems too. And also, we're fighting an uphill battle of double standards, of trying to fit into this, like, traditionally masculine society, of being responsible. Not so say I work full time. Most women, even those who work full time, I think like 70% of housework, childcare, all that stuff is still taken care of by women, even when they work full time. So it is, what it comes down to, I think, is listening and taking a step back and saying, it's not about Jessica and Dan and Natalie. It's about these bigger trends that, like, unless you really think women are inherently less smart or less ambitious or less talented or worse leaders or worse public speakers, unless you really believe that, which I think people do, then can't we look at the fact that we've never had a female president and say, well, really, in 200 and whatever years, not a single woman has been qualified? Not a single woman? Really? Nobody? Really? Nobody at all? Like, and so, but again, and so to come back to your question that you asked me 35 minutes ago, that's the reason that people get their hackles off about feminism, is because it is women saying to men, hey, we're kind of being fucked. Can you help us out? And people don't want to do that. And people don't want to acknowledge that there's a problem, because it's much, much easier not to acknowledge that there's a problem. I will tell you this. When I don't leave my basement and I watch like 5 episodes of Game of Thrones and do like 4 cross stitches, I'm much happier than when I'm watching like Donald Trump be an asshole. But like, that doesn't mean the basement is my real reality. There's still a world that's happening around me that I have to like come up for air once in a while. So that is my diatribe on feminism, I guess.
But
I got on rants.
But I think it's important, though, that, like, you know, you're saying that we all acknowledge that this exists in the world, and have conversations about it, because it's not something, you know, to just ignore. It exists. Yeah. And even if it makes it exists, then it is deserving of conversation, because I mean, we can't just pretend.
Well, and
we're just all equal right now, and no.
Yeah, and it's hard to be introspective and say, okay, am I treating this person differently because they are a person of color or an immigrant or a woman or whatever? Because it's really fucking hard to like say, oh, I kind of acted weird toward that person. Is it maybe because of this? Because that means I have to admit that I have racial bias or whatever, or
right.
And that sucks. Like, nobody wants to do that. Like, nobody likes that.
And that's another source of anxiety for like legitimate, because I catch myself. I mean, I can't stop reflecting on things that I've done or said or things that have happened. And absolutely have said or even played the game with myself. What if that was a male? What if that was a female? What if that was a, you know, whoever, whatever ethnicity or gender or anything. And that's hard to do. But I, like you said, I pretty quickly, especially when I started first getting into social work, realized I am way fucking privileged, and I had no idea just reality. So I think people that are in these little bubbles, and they insulate themselves from anything else, or they never leave their, just thinking of more locally here, they never leave their tiny little town in Indiana. And to see anybody that, you know, may be a person of color or may, and of course people, transgender people exist everywhere, and just a lot of them, especially in those smaller communities, can't be open or honest about who they
leave those small towns.
Right, exactly. And so they haven't encountered that, and then even the person who is transgender, gay, bi, you know, whatever, you know, they haven't encountered that either, so they don't feel as confident in coming out. as that, or to maybe even go a bit more broader, kind of call back to with when we had Kelly Wright on a few weeks ago. If you're non-religious and you're in a small community like that, you don't know how many other people out there are just like you. You don't have that. And I think that's something we're kind of running into a time where those things are all clashing together now on social media, on Facebook, Twitter, wherever. And we have these people who want to just be left the hell alone and want to think what they think and don't want to be challenged. But then you have all these other people realizing, oh, this is more common than, trans people do exist. It's okay, to question your gender, question your sexuality, and things like that. And I think that's part of what's been happening a lot, in why you get such a violent type reaction, at least to whenever you talk about people having privilege and things like that. So I guess that's my little bit I tried on that.
Well, and it's also hard to get to the root of opinions and make people sort of think. And the example I'm going to use is the Ghostbusters movie that came out last year, because I still am having to have conversations with people. Like, I still get tweets of like, why do you like that movie? It's objectively bad. So I'll use that, or like Hillary Clinton when she speaks. When people say things like, I don't know what it is. I just don't like I don't like how she sounds. Or, yeah, so either of those things, like, you can
see. I can be very specific about Clinton whenever she talks. I don't like the way she's obviously she's not of a younger generation, but she tries to use the lingo, but she doesn't use it correctly, or she says something that she thinks is a sick burn. Like whenever she said "trumped up, trickle down" or whatever it was during the debate. It's like, that's not you think that sounds funny. It's but it's more of it just makes me groan on the inside. I can be. Is that what I'm doing right now? Is that my level of privilege
I'm just
here?
With you.
No. I'm more than happy to be told why I'm wrong or saying stupid things.
But you can not like Hillary Clinton.
I didn't say I didn't. I just don't like the way she talks sometimes. Or I shouldn't say the way she talks. I should say what she. See, I have to walk this back. I'm in a hole now, and I don't know how to get out of it.
But it's the same conversations though. It's Ghostbusters. It's Hillary Clinton. Yeah. It's
Wonder Woman.
The same. Yeah.
When you say there was just something I didn't like about it, and you can, if you have a specific thing, I don't like that she tries to be clever when she isn't a terribly funny person. Like, she isn't a very funny person. I think she.
That doesn't feel genuine. It's not coming from a place of genuineness to me, and I think that's part of what made Obama such a good speaker, was that you felt like it was genuine. Yeah,
but Obama is a once in a lifetime speaker.
Right.
I think to hold people to Obama's level of public speaking is impossible. He was a genuinely once in a lifetime kind of person that came around. But did you feel the same way about did you feel Bernie Sanders was a super genuine person? Did you have the same and I'm not trying to pin you on anything. I'm just curious.
No. I always thought, I never thought Bernie actually had a chance, and so I always just kind of looked at him as the kooky old dude who's trying to get younger voters and just get them out there. But I don't think he ever, from somebody who has no professional experience or really any knowledge of politics, I don't feel like he ever thought he was going to. I also felt like Pence was running just to set himself up to run again in 4 years as president after Hillary won. But Bernie just felt just very delusional with some of the things that he was saying to me, and so I think. Because I didn't really have a problem with anything Hillary said. I voted for Hillary and supported her and owned that publicly on my page. But yeah, Bernie, I just never took seriously, I guess.
Yeah,
his hair didn't help either.
Well, that's another thing, right? Bernie Sanders, his suits never fit. His hair was always a mess. He was just this crazy old professor dude. And and I'm trying to imagine a woman who came out with like her hair all a mess and ill-fitting suits, and like saying all of this like way left socialist stuff, which I don't disagree with. Like I was on board with a lot of what Bernie had to say. I didn't think he necessarily had a concrete plan to back up what he wanted to do, which was my main concern. But like the fact that this like kooky old guy from Vermont like was in it to win it, like arguably was like could have been the Democratic nominee, and a woman coming out with like unkempt hair and like spouting and doing this gesture that he kept doing like during the debates.
That would never happen. That never. There right now would not be able to be a woman.
No,
she wouldn't be able to exist in that sphere.
And we're getting outside of my comfort zone here because I don't know a whole lot of political history. But has there ever been a female member of Congress that was even kind of similar to that?
I can't pretend
so
to.
I
can't even pretend to know what the answer to that would be. But I would guess, my speculation would be, if there was, or if there is, or will be, that person would be like subject to a certain level of scrutiny, that things that don't actually matter, but that perhaps a man would not be subject to the same scrutiny over.
Yeah, because I can imagine how people would respond to that. It wouldn't be in a positive light.
Yeah.
So.
But it's hard, and I've kind of challenged some people to say it was like, it's okay if you didn't like Ghostbusters or didn't like Harry, but like really take a step back and ask yourself, like, were you as mad about the Independence Day reboot as you were about the Ghostbusters reboot? Or like, and they're not gonna, like, it's very infrequent that anybody actually considers that point, because it's like nobody wants to think that they're sexist or racist or biased in any way, but we all are. Like, we all have. You do either of you listen to Invisibilia? It's like an NPR podcast.
I am not. No.
It's all about just sort of psychology and stuff like this, but there's a really compelling episode about a white man who he and his wife adopted a black girl. So he was very cognizant of like, be careful, people might treat you differently, yada yada yada. And then he had this incident one day that he saw a black man walking down the street toward a white woman, and he said, I just had this moment, like, I'm just gonna keep an eye on this just to make sure it's okay. And then the guy got to the bus stop. He's like, oh, he's just a fucking dude waiting for the bus, and like just spiraled because he realized he has the exact same biases that so many of us have. And he is the one telling his black daughter, like, people are going to treat you differently because of what you look like. And then to have to look at himself in the mirror and say, yeah, we are. Like, we're all doing that. It was extraordinarily compelling and hard.
Yeah, and that's, I mean, I absolutely have that thought. Like, I was not raised that way. I can't blame it on my parents. Damn it. But I absolutely know that feeling exactly, because I've had situations like that where I go, I'm nervous right now, or I'm driving and I see somebody walking by and I go, I need to lock my doors to my car, and just in case they come over, and then I have to challenge myself. Why the fuck do you think that is why this person in particular and not the next person? And then I go, holy shit, I saw right now that's bad. So and I think another part of that is people like you and me, Natalie, we think about those things. We think about the thought process behind things and the why of things, and not so much the what of things. And I think most people don't necessarily, and we could apply this even to Trump and whoever. They don't think on that level. They just think the one thing, they're comfortable with that. They don't want to challenge that, and they just want to watch Game of Thrones. And so they, they go off or football or whatever.
Yeah.
And then they go do that. So they don't think about that. They don't have that conversation. And I mean, I guess if we can figure out a way to get people to think like that, I mean, we win skepticism and
that's it. But it is about right. Yeah, it's about being open, first of all, to conversations with other people and to welcoming in ideas that challenge our preconceived notions, but then it's also about being able to reflect, kind of take the time with yourself too. So it's not just having conversations with other people, but it's also being like, I guess, having, the ability to be self-reflective and all of that. And we do kind of live in this time where it does feel very explosive and dumpster fiery out there. And so it's figuring out how to navigate being the best human possible to other people while still making sure that we take care of ourselves. And that's
just be nice to people.
Be nice to people and be good to yourself. And that's sometimes challenging on both counts, isn't it? Yeah. But
it is, and it's, I mean, there's also the question of like, when you say be nice to people, what does that mean to you? Because I will tell you right now, for a lot of people, to be nice to somebody else means you're gay and I need to fix you, and that's the best thing I can do for you. So, like, even that, which just sounds so easy on its face, is like, don't be an asshole is like basically my life motto. I don't live up to it almost ever, but like, it seems so easy, but at the same time, what are our goals? Like, when we say be nice to somebody, to me, that, like, can you be nice to somebody and also challenge their worldview? Like, people have a really hard time separating their beliefs with their person. So if we talked earlier about, you don't challenge the person, you challenge the ideas or whatever. To some people, those two things are so intertwined that they are one and the same. You can't separate a person from their belief in God, because that's everything to them. And that's when it gets challenging to say, like, hey, I understand you believe this with absolute sincerity and with like everything you have, but here's the thing. And as soon as you say but, they're like, later I'll see you on the flip side, like, I'm not here for this.
Not here to have everything, like, their core beliefs taken away from them.
Yeah. And nor do I don't want to take anybody's core beliefs from that. I think in most cases, people who are religious are generally, I don't want to say harmless, but like, they're not out to like firebrand the world. I don't, like, if you want to go to church every single day and tithe 50% of your income, that's 1,000% on you. But it's just the moment that you think what you believe, because it's so important to you, it thereby is important to me personally and my country or my city. That's when I'm like, well, okay, let's back it up a little bit, and like, you don't get to project that shit onto other people.
Keeping the personal beliefs personal and out of the public sphere in ways that it can impact other people and lives and all of that.
And isn't it funny when people talk about, especially it's like with gay marriage, like, you can be gay, just don't like shove my face in it or whatever. Like, what does that mean to you?
And that's them thinking that you're not being nice to them as well. You're making me listen to this, watch this, or see what you guys are doing. Now you're not being nice to me, so now I have to say something because I don't think you're being nice to me, because I don't want to see two boys holding hands.
Oh, like, yeah, it's a very dumb. It's hard. It's so fucking hard. But
all of it is hard. And these I know are the conversations that, I mean, I know you have conversations all the time on your own podcast. We have conversations that could just last for hours about how to talk to people, how to make positive change, how to do all of this. And it's, I mean, obviously it's a slow burn. The world's on fire, but we like have to do, I guess, whatever we can to try to extinguish some of it.
Yeah.
And have conversations about good ideas.
And I think podcasts like yours and mine, I hope are helpful, because you live in Indy, which is a relatively, I don't know, what's Indy in terms of, it's pretty liberal, isn't it?
It's, I mean, I don't know the demographic breakdown, and I think we have a conservative mayor right now, but even then, it's as a straight white male, that it's that it's a fairly liberal, especially well, if we can compare it to rural southern Indiana, where I'm more familiar. It's absolutely left leaning.
Yeah, and I think a lot of people so I grew up in the suburbs of Chicago, which is, it's not even a super liberal place, but it's not the red state, southern Indiana, southern Illinois thing. And so for me, I always took it for granted that, like, I sort of found my atheism, as I guess I'll put it, when I was a sophomore in college, and never felt like scared about it or that I couldn't talk to people about it. Even people who were religious, I never felt concerned about, like, will there be blowback in my life on this? And I don't know, where are you from, the DC area?
I'm from Connecticut, moved to DC area after college, but again, never had any experience where I felt any shame or any real negative feelings about being who I am in all regards. And so I feel very fortunate to have had that. And I know there are a lot of people out there who don't have that experience. And so like, my dad and I can yell about politics, but at the end of the day, like, he's not going to disown me. Like, he makes fun of me for my feminism pretty frequently, but it's not like we're going to cut you out of the family. So, and all that is to say that I forget that I'm guilty as this is anybody. I forget that that's not a lot of people's circumstances. And so when I get emails from somebody who lives in the rural South or wherever, where it is like gods and guns all day long, and I think that's kind of the beauty of the internet, is that they can find communities that are, share the same beliefs as them, and, like, it keeps them from feeling. What I've heard is it makes me feel less alone to hear somebody else who has my same opinions. And because I don't know if you've ever lived in a super conservative area, but I lived in Montana for a while, and man, you have to, like, bite your tongue so frequently there, because just at some point, like, I'm not going to get into this right now, and that's an exhausting feeling. And to live your whole life like that must be rough. So, thanks for doing what you guys do. And so
all that fun stuff.
To bring our podcast to a close here,
we went a bit long.
That's on me, my friends.
No, this is good. But so to bring this to a close, where can people find you on the internet? Your work, everything you do.
Oh yeah. So the best place to go would be friendlyatheistpodcast.com. It's got all of our backlog episodes. Our first 2 years was mostly interviews. Since late 2016, we've been doing more topical stuff. I don't know why. We just happened to be doing it around then.
Yeah, huh. That's weird.
I don't know. So you can find me there. You can follow me on Twitter at Blueberry, BLUEBURIE. That is mostly me posting pictures of my dog, but she's cute. So, and then I've got an Etsy shop, Bitches Get Stitched Done. It's like weird cross stitches that are either very niche podcasts that I listen to or like general feminists. Most of them have swears. That's sort of my jam. But I create original stuff, so if anybody wants anything, please let me know.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for doing this with us. Come back again sometime. Talk to us.
Yeah, no, this is a ton of fun. Thanks, guys.
Yeah.